Thanks for joining us for the last session of the conference. We appreciate it. We hope you've had a really great conference so far. Our session today is going to dive into account evolution. So we are going to go over how to handle change as your firm evolves, as you grow. So before we get rolling, we should probably introduce ourselves.
Thank you. Hi, everyone. My name is Brittany. I've been at Clio for about 2.5 years. This is my second ClioCon, so it's really exciting to be here again. At Clio, I work as an account executive. So I help solo and small firms evaluate Clio and implement it into their practices. Before I joined Clio, in my previous life, I was a practicing attorney. I had used Clio, and I also worked at firms that had nothing in place. And I think that experience was most impactful to me because I felt the pain and why we needed a system like Clio. So it's really exciting to be a part of the change that Clio is making, be on the front lines of that.
Absolutely. I didn't know you had a wife before Clio, Brittany. I'm the Senior Manager of Talent Acquisition at Clio, so that's a really long title, but basically I'm in charge of recruiting people to come join us. So going out there and finding great people, screening, hiring awesome people to come work for us, of course, all in an effort to build an awesome product for you guys. So we've been growing really quickly. We've been adding a lot of people. We've grown from about 200 2 years ago to over 450 people today. My team ensures that we're ready with the right people, with the right tools, support to handle that growth. So I, in the past, have had a lot of experience working on companies that have scaled really quickly. Because of those experiences, I'm able to offer Clio my expertise in how to grow and evolve effectively, learn from a lot of mistakes in the past, but that all ties in nicely to what we're going to cover today. So on that note, Britt, what are we going to do?
Okay, so we are talking about change. You've probably had information overload over the last 2 days. We're going to touch on change. It's necessary. It's really necessary for driving your business for growth and success. Firms change for countless reasons. People change, your processes change, the products you use change, the services you offer change. Change happens for a variety of reasons. Some of them are within your control. A lot of them aren't. So then, if change is the constant, we want to spend today talking about the factors that are within your control so that you can embrace these changes and use them as levers of growth. In keeping with the theme Thrive, we want to see change as an element to helping you thrive. Rather than resisting change, you've heard this throughout the conference, Clio strongly believes that embracing it is going to help you see and achieve amazing results. And that's what thriving is all about. From a business perspective, you really need to embrace that change. We launched the 2019 Legal Trends Report, and we've highlighted the difference between what lawyers need to do and what clients are expecting in order to change what the current situation is. You need to embrace new tools, embrace new processes, and that's what we're here to do. We're here to deliver those tools so that you guys can bring those changes to your firms and really thrive.
Absolutely. So Britt just mentioned that change is inevitable. Some things are within your control and some things aren't. So let's think about what we can influence and control what we can control. And that's going to be a lot of what we're going to talk about today. So with respect to your firm and Clio, we're going to dig into each of these topics and give you a clear picture of how you can proactively prepare for this and things you can do within Clio to set yourself up to grow effectively.
For sure. And some of these are technical about Clio. Others are more concepts that you may not have thought about. So we're going to sort of give you a spectrum of things to think about.
Absolutely. So now that you know what's up ahead, let's start with the first factor in our control, and that's operational excellence.
So what we mean by this is certain things that you should be setting up in your Clio accounts so that you can embrace change really seamlessly. Whether you are a solo firm or a multi-user firm, it's really important to take the time to set up things like custom fields, activity categories, expense categories, tasks, and task lists. Setting these up now will have obvious benefits for you in the present, but it's going to set up the firm for future success. It's going to make it really easy to bring on new people and grow as you hope to.
Absolutely. So setting up these essentials that we just mentioned are really going to help you save time, create consistent actions, make Process is really clear, so when you're adding people on, they can learn them quickly and understand them. These are immediate benefits. They're going to help you today, but really they're going to benefit your future firm. So your future self, your future firm is going to thank you.
So the first one of these operational elements are custom fields. As I'm sure most of you know, custom fields allow you to customize the information in your Clio account. So you can create fields for any piece of information that you need. And the nice thing is that you can group related fields so that you can add them with the click of one button. Basically, this is just really easy, a seamless way to reliably collect the information that you require. And with the click of a button, it makes it easy so that you don't forget any pieces of information. You're wondering, I'm adding all of this information. How do I see this information? Where does it go? Why do I care?
That's good news. Really easy to now view it right in the Matter. So they have their own tab. So grouping them strategically will allow the information you need to be organized in ways that are super intuitive to your firm, super easy to use across multiple users, across locations, whatever. It's
exactly. Right. And custom fields have applications throughout the platform that are really important to mention here as well. So it's worthwhile to set them up to use document automation. You need custom fields in order to generate the merge codes that you'll use in document templates. Without custom fields, there's no merge code, and document automation is a very, very good tool. Saves you time, eliminates mistakes like copying and pasting the wrong information, which is very easy to do. So you definitely want to set up custom fields for that. And the other reason is that you'll really want them and need them to take advantage of the intake forms in Clio Grow. Andrew's going to dive into that a bit further.
Can do. So as Britt just mentioned, custom fields map directly to the fields on the intake forms in Clio Grow, as you can see on this slide. So when you create that custom field in Clio Manage and sync it to Clio Grow, you can use that same custom field on the intake form that you used to send that to the client. So the reason this is so important is because once that client enters that information on the intake form, it'll never have to be re-entered by anyone at the firm. So you're going to save yourself a ton of time. You're going to eliminate all those repetitive kind of actions. It's going to sync directly into Clio. It's all tied together. You're going to save so much time and effort over the long term.
Exactly. With the custom fields, like you're getting the client to do the heavy lifting, and then you don't need to re-enter the information, which is why the integration exists, and we really want you to take advantage of that time that you can save. Okay, so next up, in terms of operational excellence, we're talking about activity categories. These are activities that you routinely bill for. They're detailed with a particular rate that may be different than the default rate you set up in settings. So things like library research, you bill at $100 an hour. Rather than entering that manually each time you do library research, you can create custom categories so that you just pick them from a drop-down option list. In terms of saving yourself time, again, you don't have to manually re-enter these, but as you grow, you're going to have this consistent built-in standard ready to go. So anyone starting to do work is going to know exactly how to keep track of that activity so you can bill really easily. And the same thing goes for expense categories. You can create fields, expense categories as well. So again, you'll have that standard rate that you can choose from. Anyone working at the firm can just pick from that drop-down list. It's really easy for you right now because it's going to save you time. You don't have to manually re-enter it. But as you grow, again, you're just choosing from a drop-down list.
Finally, let's touch on tasks. So task and task lists. Super important because they allow you to create standard practices and ensure that assigned work can be monitored across multiple people for completion. So you can create individual tasks as well as create task lists, which are essentially, in simple terms, groups of tasks. So each task is going to have a separate due date in relation to the other tasks in that list, so you can kind of make sure you're operating in a systematic way. You can assign those tasks to any firm user. Every task can be marked as complete when done, so you have that great visibility across everyone as to where you're at on certain projects. So as you grow, accountability and visibility are crucial. You can probably think if you're operating as a solo or in any kind of profession, if you're alone, organized chaos is fine, and you can kind of keep track. As you add people to your firm, that gets really difficult to kind of still rely on. So relying on these tasks allow you to standardize how to delegate, how to distribute work effectively. Everyone's going to know exactly where to go to see what's what. You're kind of building out these habits and operational efficiencies that are really going to get you in a good place to grow, to scale, to really operate effectively as you kind of, onboard new people or, change and evolve over time.
Exactly. So we've basically summed up the operational excellence component on the slide here. We have also prepared a handout in the app. So if you've been using the conference app, you might have seen it. Basically, it's really important to set up your operating system because, again, you'll see the immediate benefits, but this is going to be the foundations that you're going to need in order to grow efficiently. And setting them up now is just going to, again, your future self will thank you. It takes time. It's worth doing now. And in the future, you'll be thankful that you did it. And with that, we'll move into our second category within our control, and that's really transition and people movement. This is Andrew's specialty as our talent expert, so perfect segue and opportunity to pick your brain.
Absolutely. Thanks, Britt. I got a specialty. That's pretty cool. So to anyone that joined a little late, I'm the manager of recruiting at Clio. So I oversee all the kind of coming and going of people here. A big part of account evolution is preparing for change. I mentioned it earlier, but we've grown a ton from, in the last 2 years, even almost over doubled our company from 200 to 450 people. We're going to grow to 600, 700 over the next couple of years. This has involved a lot of people coming on board, a lot of people, we've had to put our processes under the microscope to make sure, things that probably didn't work 2 years ago would still work today and so forth. So really we want to ensure, all with the goal of ensuring that new people who join are going to be set up for success. So we'll go over a few principles that we rely on that have helped us a lot, but also are helpful for any business. Any business looking to grow, these principles certainly apply as well. So at Clio, recruiting top talent is top priority for us. So we put a ton of effort into building out world-class interview processes, findings, and turning over every rock to find the best people, ensuring we get the very best to build an awesome product for you guys.
Okay, we're going to use this as a Q&A time for you.
Let's do it.
As our talent specialist, what do you look for when you're hiring for people? Just as general principles, anyone running a business can probably take.
Yeah, I think we obviously look for people that have a certain skill set you're looking for, a certain baseline set of skills or experience. But at the end of the day, when you're hiring, top people, you're hiring people that are going to stretch into that role. They're taking that job on because they want to push themselves in a new area. So in reality, you're looking for people that are highly coachable, that are kind of, can absorb information quickly, can learn, can, kind of be a rock star as they ramp up. So I think, I mentioned that because this emphasizes how important a strong onboarding program is at your firm or at any company. So you got to get people over that learning curve quickly. So you can recruit the best person in the world, they can have everything on paper, they can be great, but at the end of the day, if your onboarding, your training isn't strong, if you're not setting them up with those operational efficiencies we mentioned, it's going to break down, they're going to become a flight risk, they might not be happy. So super important to make sure you're not just finding the best people, but you're setting them up for success early on as well.
For sure. From a firm perspective, let's say you're bringing on a brand new lawyer or someone who just graduated. You spent the time finding the person. You want to make sure that there is that dedicated time so that they can learn, because I imagine it's unreasonable to expect that they're going to know how to practice that very niche area the way you've been doing it for example, 20 years, right out of the gate. So onboarding is really important in any business, I would imagine.
You got it. Yeah, you spent so much time investing that time and find that person, maybe paying a lot of money to get that person. You want to make sure that investment pays off in the end, and you find people that stay, that are excited, that motivated, and can obviously come kill it in the job as well. So super important.
Yeah. So we're picking your brain as someone who has experience with Clio, the company. It's a very big company now. Are there general principles that would apply to the solo firm, two-user firm?
I think the principles you talked about. I've worked at 20,000 person companies. I worked at 10 person companies as well, and Clio kind of in between there. And honestly, there's obviously nuances to each of those and differences, but at the end of the day, the principles kind of apply the same. It doesn't matter if you're Clio, the company growing from 200 to 400, or you're a firm that's going from 3 users to 6. The principles kind of remain true.
Perfect. It's a perfect opportunity to sort of outline
help,
some of
Brittany.
those to keep in mind.
Absolutely. So what does a good onboarding plan look like? I mean, I can't completely design your onboarding plan. There's going to be a lot of stuff that you got, nuances per firm or in your practice area that's going to be different. That's on you to do. But I'm going to offer a few tips. We're going to offer a few tips today that really help you kind of start thinking about these things. So we've talked a lot about Clio being the firm's operating system. So ensuring that people are empowered, educated on how to use that operating system is going to be a huge part of your success, of their success, of the onboarding process. So we'll touch briefly on some areas we feel you should really ingrain into it. Make sure that you leave here with kind of some thinking on this. You don't have to have it all figured out. Heck, I don't have it all figured out yet, but these are some principles that kind of hold true for us. Before we even get into it, let's go over this kind of guiding principle, and that's we strive to create clarity, connection, and confidence in the first few weeks of a new employee's life at Clio or for any other companies that I've worked at. Essentially, this means that ramping up steps are ultra clear, so you're creating that clarity. People know who to turn to for advice, know who to go to. They have maybe an onboarding buddy, whatever it may be. People helping them get ramped up. That's creating that connection. And then, confidence with the tools they're using, confidence with, the product, the way your firm uses Clio, all that kind of stuff. They need to, have strong, clear, engageable material that they can, understand quickly, synthesize, embrace, ask questions about, engage with. All that's ultra important. So, that's so important to get set up on that onboarding program. As we mentioned, for a lot of reasons. So you can then spend, a lot more time, obviously dedicating time to, ways that your firm works or certain nuances, things like that. When I joined Clio, I wish someone taught me that. Don't talk to Brittany before she has her morning coffee. But, things like that, you can dedicate more time to that.
So yeah, we are going to go through things to consider for onboarding. And with that, keep the clarity, connection, and confidence in mind for your onboarding, whatever that may look like, because they're important regardless. But the first thing, so we're going to go through sort of these items that you should be considering when you are bringing on new people to the firm. The first one we'll talk about is adding users. At Clio, the best practice that we recommend is to have a license for anyone who's going to be regularly using the system. This is so that you can work efficiently, you can delegate work, and as the administrator of the account, you can assign permission levels to the various users, and that may depend on the role that they have, what you need them to focus on. There are privacy concerns sometimes, but essentially you want everyone to be doing the job that they have really efficiently. So when you are adding users, permissions come into play. In Clio, there are two levels of permissions. There are the macro level permissions, and those apply throughout the platform. So those are the administrator permissions, the accounts permissions, billing, and reports. And then there are also the micro level permissions. So those are more specific to specific matters, billing rates, calendars, activity categories. When you're applying permissions, you just want to think about the purpose of the permission, and that'll really dictate the level of permission necessary. If you don't want anyone to see any billing information across the platform, then it's not enough, for example, to apply only the micro level permissions. You'll want to limit those at a macro level. If you keep the purpose in mind, then Clio is a really flexible platform that you can really control and make sure that everyone is working with purpose and focusing on what they need to focus on.
Absolutely, and then, so you get that person set up, you got their permission set up. We also have a ton of material available to you that helps new users onboard properly. So you don't have to figure all this stuff alone. You don't have to write the manual on how to use Clio. We've already done that for you. So we'll talk about in the Clio Academy a little more in a couple of slides, but essentially it's a training platform that, you can leverage, very essential to any kind of training and onboarding. Make sure those people are set up and you're creating that the 3 C's that we talked about and that clarity. So you can, definitely, use that there. We're going to talk about it a little more, but make sure you're not doing this yourself. We've dedicated time towards it. And
for sure. And so we've summarized sort of what is important to consider when you are building your own onboarding processes. Clio is built to be a very scalable platform. It's built to grow as you grow. So if you have these in mind, if you're sort of mindful of the fact that you're going to be adding users and they're going to be doing different jobs, and you want to make sure that you're not duplicating work and everyone's working efficiently, then this is going to be really helpful to have in mind as you grow, and it's going to make that trajectory for the firm that much easier to move forward with. And that brings us to our next area within our control, knowing what support and resources are available, because regardless of any of these factors, this one applies throughout. You want to know how to get help. You want to know where information is so that it's accessible to you and you can leverage all of it as often as necessary. So we're going to go through that today. Some of it is underused in my opinion, and it's all on the handout. So you'll hear about it, and hopefully you'll take away some more information than you may have known about.
Absolutely. So again, you're not in it alone. We're here to help. My team spends a lot of time finding these resources that are there to help you, building out a support team that's world-class. So use them, and use that material that we've created.
So what happens if I'm brand new to the firm? I forget how to add time. I delete everything in the platform. I screw everything up.
What have you done?
What do I do? We proudly offer very comprehensive support. And there's various types of support. So there are many ways to get help, whether it's self-help or someone from our team. The first one of which is most accessible to you because it is right in the app.
Absolutely. So both in Grow and in Manage, we've introduced the Help Center in our chat application. It is right there for you. So essentially, you can get the answers to those questions, those common questions we've seen time and time again with the click of a button. You don't have to talk to anyone, you don't have to wait on hold, none of that. Without having to leave the application, you can find those answers. So should you still need additional support, there is a live chat button right there, so you can speak to a live agent. They're ready to help you. Like Brittany just deleted the whole database, they're there to help. So keep that in mind. So you got two options right there, right in the application.
Yeah, you don't necessarily need to call in. You can just chat with someone directly right in the app. And we touched on Clio Academy. How many of you have heard of Clio Academy? I can't really see, so you could say yes, no.
Not many.
Okay, good. I'm really glad to hear it because these are really interactive courses that we produce. They're free, and they're so helpful for anybody at the firm, particularly as you're building an onboarding program. We have bundles of courses, depending on your role, that you may want a new user to register for and complete. But anybody could take advantage of these, and they're really helpful and intuitive to use. You can build out your own curriculum. You can add single courses. Clio, as I'm sure you can already tell, is understanding how to use the platform in and of itself is a skill. You want Clio proficient employees. You want to be able to say you are a Clio expert when you are joining a Clio firm. It's very worthwhile to take advantage of the resources like this so that you can come in feeling confident using the platform, and you can sort of then learn the firm-specific information that we can curate for you. Things like don't bug me in the morning before my coffee, and the more specific firm information that that's specific to your onboarding.
Absolutely. So if you do prefer live classroom style learning, everyone kind of learns differently, different styles, so we have options for that as well. We do host weekly webinars, some of which are actually eligible for CLE credits. Keep that in mind. Totally free to register. Really beneficial to just keep an eye on the calendar, see what's coming up. You might not need to sign up for everything, but even as thinking about that onboarding, as you onboard new people, there could be really useful information for them as well, or just refresher for you, as well as all the new stuff that we launch. Good to stay on top of what's new and coming out. So really important to stay on top of that and check it out.
Yeah. And then last but not least, this year we introduced 24-hour support Monday to Friday. You all have permission to pull out your phones, make sure this number is programmed in. If your preference is to speak to a friendly Canadian or maybe someone from Dublin to help answer your questions, we are available and happy to help. The team is over 80 people dedicated to just helping our clients. So leverage this resource. There are other options, but this one is always available to you as well. And we've summarized them here. They're in the handout, so you won't forget. But we want to make sure that you know sort of where you can find information and the different ways that you can use it and learn in Clio, because it's really helpful, and we want you to feel empowered in the platform. and get the answers that you need when you need them.
Absolutely. Any issues you run into, we have the answers to. So, they're here to help. Don't ignore it, leverage it.
Absolutely. So we can now call you all Clio certified change agents. You've all attended ClioCon to represent your firms in some capacity and ideally bring something back worthwhile. And I have no doubt that over these 2 days, you've learned many things. On the heels of our new funding, all the exciting new features that we're launching, Clio is really moving into a new decade, and we're really excited about the changes that we're bringing to all of you and your firms. And we want you to feel ready and excited to embrace these challenges and thrive.
Absolutely. So change is inevitable. It's a marker growth. Don't be afraid of it. According to the legal trends report that George spoke about earlier yesterday, growth is a top priority for firms. So you can control elements of your practice in order to be better equipped to handle that change and to be more comfortable with that change. Setting up some of those things, some of those operational efficiencies, some of that onboarding material, all that kind of stuff is going to make it really a lot easier to add people later on or to replace people or whatever it may be. You're going to feel much more comfortable doing it because that system's in place to be able to handle it. So you have access to the resources and support that we've gone over. Be empowered to thrive, and yeah.
Yeah, so thank you. This is the last session of the last day. We appreciate you taking the time, and we have exciting keynotes to follow. We have a couple minutes for questions if you want to stand back and chat with us. Don't forget, the support team is on the ground. If you have specific questions about your accounts, they're here to help. But we really appreciate you joining us, and hopefully we gave you some things to think about.
Thanks a lot, everyone.